The rain poured heavily that Thursday morning, streaking down the window panes like silent tears. Noor sat at the small dining table, helping her younger sister Zara prepare a lunchbox for the Henderson child she'd been nannying for the past year. Zara had the flu, and her voice was barely above a whisper. She looked pale, wrapped in 2 layers of blankets. "Noor, please, just for today," Zara pleaded between coughs. "Mr. Henderson is really strict about schedule, and you know I can't afford to lose this job." Noor hesitated. She wasn't great with children, not that she didn't love them, but her life had been filled with struggle, and she didn't think she had the softness children needed. Her hands were calloused from working part-time in a laundry shop, her eyes tired from trying to finish her evening classes. But she loved her sister more than anything in the world. Zara had sacrificed so much for her already. "All right," Noor finally said with a sigh. "Just one day." When she arrived at the Henderson estate, she was stunned. The mansion was like something out of a dream: tall glass windows, polished stone steps, and a garden so perfect it looked unreal. She swallowed her anxiety and rang the bell. The door opened, and a little boy with curly hair peeked out from behind the maid. "Are you the new nanny?" he asked curiously. "No, just filling in today," Noor smiled warmly. "You must be Adam." The maid handed her a list of routines, feeding times, and a warning: Mr. Henderson didn't tolerate disobedience. He liked things punctual and precise. Noor felt like she was stepping into a military camp, not a home. But as the day unfolded, something changed. Adam, all of 6 years old, was sweet and sharp. He asked questions about everything: why clouds moved, why trees made noise, why some people lived in small houses and others in castles. Noor answered with stories, laughter, and simple honesty. She didn't try to pretend to be a perfect nanny. She let him get messy when painting, let him sneak one extra cookie after lunch, and when he cried over a broken toy, she didn't scold, she just listened. What she didn't know was that she was being watched. From the security monitors in his home office, Daniel Henderson had noticed something was different. He hadn't planned to check. He was buried in paperwork, consumed by deadlines and meetings. But a burst of laughter from the backyard caught his attention. When he glanced at the screen, he froze. It wasn't Zara playing with his son. It was someone else, someone with a quieter beauty, more grounded, more real. She wasn't performing. She wasn't trying to impress. She was just being herself. Daniel stared at the monitor as she knelt to tie Adam's shoelace, as she listened with undivided attention while the boy told a rambling story about dinosaurs and space. It was the most alive he had seen his son in months. And somehow, it stirred something in him too. At dinner time, Noor helped set the table, though the maid protested. She'd always been raised to help, not stand idly. Adam insisted she sit beside him, and when Daniel finally stepped out from his office and walked into the dining room, Noor's eyes widened slightly. She hadn't expected him to be that Daniel Henderson. Tall, sharp-featured, every bit the image of success, yet his eyes looked heavy, like they carried the weight of more than boardroom decisions. "You must be Zara's sister," he said, offering a polite handshake. "She told me a lot about you." Noor stood, wiping her hands awkwardly. "I'm sorry for the surprise visit. Zara was sick, and she asked me to fill in." "She made the right choice," Daniel said quietly, glancing at Adam, who was still grinning at Noor. As the evening wound down, Noor excused herself, ready to leave. She hadn't expected anything more than a day of babysitting. But Daniel stopped her at the door. "She ever mention why I hired her?" he asked suddenly. Noor shook her head. "She saved my son once. He wandered into the street near the park. She ran faster than anyone else. From that moment, I knew I could trust her." He paused. "And now, I'm wondering if she has a sister just as extraordinary." Noor didn't know what to say. Her life had been so far from extraordinary. But Daniel saw something else in her. The next morning, he called Zara, not to fire her, but to make an offer. "I'd like to hire Noor. Not just as a nanny. I need someone with heart. With grounding. Someone who sees people, not paychecks." Zara couldn't believe it. And when Noor heard, she was even more shocked. At first, she refused. "I'm not a nanny. I don't even know how to raise a child." "You don't have to know everything," Daniel said gently. "You just have to care. And you already do." Weeks passed. Then months. Noor became part of the Henderson home, not just in duty, but in spirit. Adam adored her. She inspired Daniel. He began to trust again, not just her, but life. He'd built an empire of steel and glass but never realized how hollow it felt, until Noor. They began sharing morning walks in the garden. Late-night talks about dreams and loss and love. He learned about her struggles, how she had skipped meals to pay for textbooks, how she carried the weight of her family's hopes on her shoulders. And in her, he saw strength more valuable than money could buy. One evening, as Adam ran through the garden chasing fireflies, Daniel turned to her. "You were supposed to be here for one day," he said. "I know," she smiled. "Funny how life works. I don't want you to be a guest in this house anymore," he said, stepping closer. "I want you to be part of it." Noor's eyes welled with tears. "You mean?" "I mean, I've been watching you all along. And everything I saw, I fell for." And so, the girl who thought she was just helping her sister out for a day became the heart of a home, the light in a little boy's eyes, and the love that a lonely man had long forgotten he needed. Because sometimes, life doesn't give you signs. It just gives you moments. Moments that change everything.